This reaction video has been made family friendly.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another Vocal Coach Reacts. I'm Jim, and we've got an interesting one for you today. So, I am actually a huge fan of this band. I've seen this band before, not live. I've never seen them live before, but I've been really, really into their music lately, in a big way, like all of their recorded stuff. I remember back in high school, a friend of mine told me to listen to their song War, and I loved it, and pretty much only listened to that song at the time, and it wasn't until about 6 months ago maybe that I went, oh, I wonder what that band's doing now, and then I listened to their entire discography very in a very short amount of time. It was probably an unhealthy amount of time, to be honest, because it was just that good, right? Just that good. And something that I realized I hadn't done is I hadn't heard them live. So what I've decided to do, because we had somebody mention in one of my comments that they would like me to react to Poets of the Fall. Now, I do forgive me with a lot of these requests because I don't have the list of who requested them anymore. I did a full spreadsheet up on my laptop of the songs, the artists, and who requested them, and the laptop died completely. I have found that there was a backed up version of the file on my phone, but it's only showing me the artist and the song sometimes. I think it might have been, I don't know, maybe not the finished version that got saved, or, you know, something like that, right? So do forgive me if I don't mention who advised these songs, but please know that I am thinking of you. Because, yeah, it just something that was just out of my control, unfortunately. But this song is called Carnival of Rust, which is from their Carnival of Rust album, and I love it. I love the album that this is from. So let's give this a listen. So just to let everybody know as well, actually, before we get into any analysis stuff, like a favorite, subscribe, do all that sort of thing. It's really helpful, and I really appreciate it. And but besides that, I've done a lot of higher male vocals. This guy is a baritone through and through. I'm actually not sure of his name. I should probably have a look at that. Give me a moment. Okay, so his name is Marco. Marco's Seresto. I'm not 100% sure if I pronounced the last name correctly. Worked as a graphic designer before forming the band in 2002. Very interesting. He seems like the kind of guy that would be into that sort of artsy stuff. You'll actually see that from the music, too. It's quite artistic. And so this guy's voice, just to let you know, complete baritone voice, right? There's none of those, like, real big heights to his voice. He has a lovely falsetto in some songs, but definitely not the heights that, like, your Dimosh and, a few of the other artists that I've reviewed on this channel have. Okay? So let's get to this.
Darkness dwell.
Something that enraptures me, and holds on to me right there. The tone of his voice is so mysterious. You kind of always want to hear what the next line is going to be. Like, it's such an interesting dynamic with his voice. It's such a beautiful tone. I love it.
The man in the box between heaven and hell, with his broken heart, sings a song of love.
I actually really love that guitar work, that opening guitar work there. It's so beautiful. Like, it's simple, right? It's so simple, but it's so effective. Okay, let me go back a second there. I heard a bit of a... I don't know if that was an accidental kind of hiccup in the note, or if it was a like a stylistic choice. Give me one sec.
Of your savior in your hour of need,
Not sure. Not sure.
and taste the blame if the flavor should remind you of greed, of implication, insinuation, and ill will, till you cannot lie still in all this turmoil before red cape and foil come closing in for a kill.
Yeah, so I'm just going to pause it there for a second. There's just a really interesting tone to that voice. It's so enrapturing. Like, it gives me, like, incredibly theatrical vibes. For instance, I could see his voice type being cast as someone like the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, something like that. You know, that kind of voice that needs to be good, needs to be able to hold notes and, you know, sing them well as be kind of almost seductive in a way. There's something really nice about that tone, and it fits really nicely into that kind of thing for me. Wow, that's loud.
'Cause I'm thirsty for your love, dancing underneath the skies of lust. Yeah, feed the rain, 'cause without your love my life ain't nothing but this carnival of rust.
See, interesting thing there. I quite like that ornamentation that he did. In the studio version, it's not like that at all. He didn't add that ornamentation. Yeah, so it's a Carnival of Rust. Actually, not even think he does that much. Oh, is all he does. He just nice and simple in the recording, but does a nice little extra add-on here.
But this carnival of rust.
Very nice, very nice.
Well, it's all a game, avoiding failure when true colors will bleed. All in the name of misbehavior and the things we don't need. And I lost for after no disaster can touch us anymore. More than ever, I hope to never fall.
Okay.
Where enough is not the same it was before.
Okay, so this song, to me, right, it's definitely one of those ones that you can completely zone out to. You can play it at any point in your life, and you will zone out. So that's why it took me just a minute to actually come back in and do this, because I zoned out, which could be an ADHD thing, it could be, you know, but mostly it's, you know, I find it's the vibe of this song. And you can tell, too, that his voice doesn't have a huge range, right? It's got a good range. It's got a good range, and he's got a very brilliant tone. What they've kind of done here is they've written this song for his voice. And all of these musicians working together have made it a very stunning piece of art, in my opinion. They just continue on with their, you know, with their individual parts. And if you listen to the music, right, if you really, like, go down to brass tacks as to every little line of the music, you hear everything. Like, they've added so many interesting, intricate things. It's just that it all works so well in tandem that sometimes, I don't want to say it gets lost, because it doesn't get lost. What it becomes is somehow more than just the sum of its parts. And that, to me, is pure, like, artistry and artisan work.
Where enough is not the same it was before. Come feed the rain, 'cause I'm thirsty for your love. Dancing underneath the skies of lust. Yeah, feed the rain, 'cause without your love my life ain't nothing but this carnival of rust. Feed the rain, 'cause I'm thirsty for your love, dancing underneath the skies of lust. Yeah, feed the rain, 'cause without your love my life ain't nothing but this carnival of rust.
Ooh! Okay, so interesting that he did that, the Carnival of Rust, that he did that live, right? Because that's something that you hear in the studio track, but it sounds more of a backing vocal thing. It doesn't sound as if it's like a main vocal thing, but he did it, and it sounds phenomenal, and he did that in his falsetto, and it's a really nice falsetto. Now, I was worried's not the word I want to use here. I was wondering if he was actually going to go for that higher note, because even in the studio version, you kind of hear that Carnival of Rust, that note there, is his kind of top of his kind of belt or chest voice. So I was wondering how he was going to approach it, and you know what? I was kind of floored, because he got into that spot quite easily. It still sounds as though it's one of his higher notes in that sector of the voice, but did it phenomenally. I actually really love his falsetto, by the way.
Don't walk away. Oh, when the world is burning, don't walk away. Don't walk away. Oh, when my heart is yearning, don't walk away. Don't walk away. Oh, when the world is burning, don't walk away. Don't walk away.
Cool. Very good. Very good. Let's just get rid of that. There we go. So interesting. I really like what he does. I like the style of music that comes out of those guys, of Poets of the Fall. I think it's really good. A lot of their stuff has that kind of super chill vibe to it, despite it being more heavier music. Just a quick thing. What do Google alternative rock bands? Yeah, that makes sense. I was just seeing what the L-Goog would kind of class them as. It's alternative rock band. That makes sense, right? I love it, truthfully. Like, I love the band. I love the music that they create. I love the guy's voice. It's got this gorgeous tone, and I would sincerely recommend going and having a listen to their song Cradled in Love, which really shows his falsetto and his control within the parts of the voice. Because something that I was listening for then, after like knowing bits about his voice and hearing different things, was how he attacks things live. Attacks not the word. How he approaches things live. And to be completely honest, I am quite impressed. Like, it's really nice. Again, as I mentioned, that higher note, Carnival of Rust. Not one of my higher notes by any means, but one of his. And you can kind of hear that. And then that's why for that next line, the Carnival of Rust, he went straight into that falsetto, right? Which, again, he has really good control over his trills. And the tone is magnificent. Like, quite genuinely, I'd listen to that voice for hours because there's nothing harsh about it at all. It's smooth. It's silky smooth. It's really nice. At least in my opinion. It's just, I'm wondering if he was having breathing issues there. I don't know. This is speculation. This part here is kind of speculation. I wonder if he was having a few breathing issues just because of that note at the start that I wasn't sure if it was a stylistic choice or if it was a slight error. Or closer to the end there, it seemed as though he was a little bit out of breath. But again, something that I like to point out at this point is that whenever I make that sort of observation, I never want that to be seen as a negative, because fact of the matter is that was part of a full concert. We don't know at any point, unless we watched the entire concert in its entirety, where that song was. Could have been right at the end, could have been at the start, could have been in the middle. He could have gone through an entire show beforehand, could have been unwell, whole heap of things, right? Which, something that annoys me is a lot of the time, there's a lot of these videos of an artist's best and worst moments, quote unquote, and I hate them. I hate those videos because what it does is it goes, oh, look, this vocalist is human and made a wrong note one time. And we're going to point it out to them and, really, really stab them with this, with the fact that we heard it. Don't be that guy, right? Because, again, the voice is such a... how do I put this? The voice is such an interesting instrument that changes so dramatically as time goes on. And as an example, right? So here's, I think I might have spoken about this. I might not have, but here's the thing, right? So I remember going to one of my singing teachers. It was my classical singing teacher at the time, and she was talking to me, and I'd had a rough day, man, like a real rough day. And so my voice sounded tense, right? And then I'd spoken to her about the day because it was unnatural for my voice to be that tense, to be that kind of hard up. And she pointed out very, very quickly. I kind of explained to her, the kind of day, week, whatever I was having. And I started crying at the time. I'm not afraid to admit that. I don't care. And the sound that came out of my voice after a small cry, and it was only a small cry, but after that was completely different. The sound was insanely different. Was it better? Probably not. I just come out of crying. Nobody wants to be singing immediately after crying. I've seen very few people that can cry and sing at the same time, and don't know how you do it. I just don't. But it's just one of those things. Like, your diet can affect your voice. How much water you've had affects your voice. The amount of sleep you've had affects your voice. So if you're an insomniac, it makes things difficult, right? Not to say that anybody is. I don't know if he is. I'm definitely not. But like as an example, right? Emotions. You know, emotions are a huge part, and we all feel that as time goes on. And you know, again, if you've had a bad day, chances are later on, if you're singing, your voice is going to sound different, or at least feel different. The idea of what we do here and what I teach at my studio is to get the technique right so that even on those worst days, you're still doing, I don't want to say the minimum of what your voice can do, but essentially that's what it is. Like, get to that point where your technique is so good that it can always be, you know, good to the ear sort of thing. Not sure if that was a good explanation. Probably not, but I can definitely explain more at some other time. But anyway, that's all I have to kind of say about that one. I love his voice, truthfully, 100%. I thought that performance was really cool. The dude had them by the like in the palm of his hand the entire time, and I'd love to see them live. I would love to see them live. I don't know if they've ever come out to Australia. Or if they ever will, but if they do and they come to Sydney, I would 100% be there. And I'd love to actually discuss with him too, now knowing that he did a little bit of graphic design and then created the band as well. I'd love to chat with him. So if we can get this video out there and he can see it, that'd be sick. That'd be sick, because I'd love to like any of these guys. I would love to talk to any of these guys just to find out what makes them tick, and if I'm on the money with what I'm saying, right? Because, like, I can tell you what I'm hearing, right, and how it sounds based upon my experiences, but 9 times out of 10, that may not exactly be the case. I might be, you know, I might mostly have it right, but there's something else there that isn't quite right, and as I've said to many people, the journey of the voice is never ending. You know, we spend years and years mastering the voice. Do we ever actually master it? No. Despite the fact that there are people that have definitely come close, there's always more to learn. And that's very, very important. So on that note, like a favorite if you enjoyed, subscribe, do all that sort of thing. And I will see you guys in the next reaction. Okay, bye-bye.